The siblings had grown used to entertaining themselves. They played board games, drew pictures, and sometimes made up their own silly games. But on nights when the loneliness crept in, the TV always seemed to lure them in. One Friday evening, while flipping through channels, Noah stumbled upon a late-night show filled with bright lights, booming music, and adults speaking in animated tones. The fast-paced scenes captivated him. "Come here, Ava. You have to see this," Noah called from the living room. Curious, Ava ran in and plopped down next to her brother. The siblings watched, wide-eyed and entranced. They didn't understand much of what was happening on screen, but it looked intriguing. "Why are they doing that?" Ava asked, her brow furrowing in confusion. "I don't know," Noah said. "Maybe it's something fun grown-ups do." They didn't realize it, but the show contained images that weren't meant for young eyes. As days passed, those images stayed in their minds. The curiosity sparked by the show grew until it became something they couldn't ignore. One afternoon, Noah turned to Ava with a mischievous glint in his eye. "Hey, remember that thing we saw on TV? Let's try it." Ava's face tensed. "I don't think we should, Noah. It didn't feel right." But Noah persisted, unaware of the weight of his request. "Come on, Ava. It's just pretend. No one will know." Ava hesitated, unsure of what to do. Noah's words made her feel trapped. "Okay, but only this once," she finally whispered. What had always been playful and innocent between the siblings took a dark turn. As Ava lay beside her brother, an intense wave of discomfort swept through her. Tears filled her eyes as she bolted from the room. "No, Noah. I never want to do that again," she cried, clutching her chest. Noah, confused, didn't understand why Ava was so upset. To him, it had just been another game. As the days passed, Ava's anxiety grew. Her once cheerful brother now seemed different, stubborn and insistent. One day, when their mother returned home briefly to pick up some files, Ava hesitated but found the courage to speak up. "Mom, can I talk to you?" she asked timidly. Mrs. Harper, distracted by her phone, barely glanced at her daughter. "Not now, sweetheart. I'm in a rush." Ava's heart sank. Her voice, filled with pain, went unheard. Later that afternoon, after another unsettling encounter with Noah, Ava couldn't bear it anymore. She ran to their neighbor, Mrs. Grace, a kind woman who always had time for the neighborhood children. "What's wrong, Ava?" Mrs. Grace asked, kneeling to meet the girl's tear-streaked face. Ava sobbed as she poured out everything, the strange TV scenes, Noah's requests, and the growing fear inside her. Mrs. Grace embraced her. "You were very brave to tell me," she said gently. "You're safe now, and we'll figure this out together." That evening, Mrs. Grace contacted the Harpers and explained everything. Mr. Harper's face turned pale. Noah wouldn't do something like that, he insisted defensively. Mrs. Harper, though shaken, tried to minimize the situation. Maybe they just misunderstood what they saw. Mrs. Grace stood firm. "Children imitate what they see. You've been so focused on work that you've forgotten to monitor what they watch." The Harpers sat in stunned silence, guilt washing over them. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, they made immediate changes. They limited screen time and only allowed age-appropriate content. They also had open conversations with their children about what they watched and how it made them feel. Understanding that professional help was necessary, the Harpers arranged counseling sessions for Noah and Ava. These sessions provided a safe space for the children to process their emotions. Gradually, the Harpers became a more attentive and present family. Mrs. Harper reduced her work hours, while Mr. Harper dedicated his weekends to family activities. Evenings were filled with laughter as they played board games and shared stories. Months later, as they sat together one evening, Ava looked up at her parents. "Thank you for listening to me now," she said softly. Her simple words brought tears to Mrs. Harper's eyes. In that moment, the Harpers realized that the greatest gift they could give their children was their love, attention, and presence. This was a new beginning, a journey toward healing and stronger family bonds. This story reminds us that children need to feel heard and understood. It's up to parents and guardians to create safe spaces where young voices matter. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more meaningful content. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever felt unheard as a child? Until next time, goodbye.